welcome to this week's video where I am going to sit down and just chat about my internal medicine rotation, which is not over yet. I've done 2 weeks. I have 4 more weeks after the new year, but I kind of just wanted to fill you in of what it was like, what we do as a medical student, and like the structure of it, because I wasn't able to vlog. Like, I was always with my team, and I'd be kind of like, I'm not gonna vlog with like 5 doctors around me, you know? So I'm just gonna share my experience by sitting down on a cozy winter morning before I go to the gym and tell you all about my 2 weeks of internal medicine. First up is the schedule. So for internal medicine, we work Monday through Friday and then every other weekend day. So this is definitely one of the more intense schedules. The other one being surgery and OB-GYN. 2 of the 4 weeks of OB-GYN is pretty intense. So for internal medicine, my team, so they have sign out at 6 a.m. So my classmate liked to get there at like 5:40, 5:45 because she would go in, like just, it takes a long time to log into CPRS. We're at the VA and then print the list kind of thing. My printer wasn't working, so I wasn't able to print the list. I kind of like rolled up at 6 a.m. and then just did that stuff after. But once I did get the printer hooked up, like my second week, I think like the perfect time to get there was like 5:50 because I could just like rush in, log in, print the list, go there for sign out, and then yeah, that's all I needed to do. Let's say 5:50 is when you start, and then we usually left around 4-ish, I would say. Some days 5, some days 3. I would say, yeah, leaving around 3 to 5. But 3 would be like less often, like usually leaving at 4 or 5. Basically 6 to 5. And there was definitely 1 week where I had that weekend day. I chose Sunday. We get to pick whether we want to work Saturday or Sunday. I worked a total of about 56 hours that week, so it was a decent amount as far as schedule goes. All right, so let's talk about what you do as a medical student, and I'll run you through a typical day, which every day is exactly the same. So let's say I'm on my game this morning. I get there at 5:50. I will go to the workroom, log into CPRS, print out the list, and print out 4 because there's 2 interns, 1 senior resident, and then me, so there's 4 of us on the team. I print out the list for everybody, staple it, put it all on their desks. 6 a.m. is sign out, so then I go to the other workroom, all the teams come together, and the night teams will like tell us, 1, about new admits that we got and like their story, and then 2, about any like eventful things that happened of the patients that we already had. So that's sign out. It's really quick, like 15 minutes. So 6:15, I'm going back to our workroom and starting to read up on the new patient that I picked up, because usually I'll pick up a new patient, and about the patients that I'm already following. So if it's a new patient, I'll just go through their chart. I'll look at like their diseases, like their problems, why they came in, learn more about them, because I'm going to do an oral presentation on them later. And I just try to figure out all the pertinent things that I need to know. And then I'll also look at like vitals and things of the patients I've been following. So from 6:15 to 7-ish, I'll like do that. I'm just going through the charts, reading about my patients, writing down, like planning for my oral presentation I'm gonna do later in the morning. At 7, I actually go and see the patients. And this is kind of like, nobody's telling me to go at 7. I like just decide like what I want to do when, between 6:15 and like 8:15 when we round with the attending. So around 7, I'll go see the patients, and it's all about like overnight events and like, how are you doing? So like, how did overnight go? Were you nauseous? Did you vomit? Like, any more bloody diarrhea? Like, how'd that Lasix do? Did it make you pee? Like, things like that. And then I'll do a physical exam, so listen to heart, lungs, check for edema, palpate their abdomen, things like that. Ask them if they're in pain, how much. That's about it. So I see 2 to 3 patients. Come back to the workroom, and then again, I'm just like collecting my thoughts and like writing down on a little sheet. We'll cover oral presentations in a bit, but like writing down like an organized like assessment and plan so I can like all form my future oral presentation that I'm gonna do when we're rounding. So then around 8 is when it's like the OT, PT people come in, and social work maybe, and just for like 15 minutes we go through all the patients on our list and see if they needed a PT consult or if social work can do anything for them. Then at 8:15, we round with so many people. So the attending will come in, we'll start our rounds. So I told you already, there's 4 people on the internal med team, my 3 residents and me. And then there's the attending, the internal medicine attending. But then also there was a pharmacist and a pharmacy student. And, okay, well, I made that really dramatic, but still, that's 7 people. We round on all these patients, 7 people. Like, we'll go into the patient's room and like file in like a freaking basketball team. It's like really interesting. Oh, and then we'll call the nurse every time we go to the room. So 8 people, and 8 people on the team, and they're like, the patients must be like, what is happening? Like, this is overwhelming. But anyway, so we start rounds at 8:15 with the whole team, 7 people, plus like we go to the rooms and call the nurse. So then we'll round on, let's say, 8 to 12 patients, depending on the day. And then when we get to a patient's room that's a patient that I'm following, then I'll do the oral presentation and do my best, and then like give me like a little bit of feedback, or like save it for the end of the day. Rounding typically ends around 11-ish or 10-ish, typical time to like finish. And then once rounding is done, we kind of just like start notes. I'll just like do notes for my patients. I could usually get them done by noon. Noon is conference, so that's when we have an hour of lecture, and they're always really good. I love the lectures that are from that rotation versus our med school lectures, which are not relevant at all. So 12 to 1 is conference, which is lecture, and they also give us free food. So I did not have to pack my lunch for 2 weeks, and it was amazing. And then from 1 to like 4-ish, we just finish notes. We might get new admits, so I'll go down to the ED, or they'll already be upstairs, and I'll do a full H&P, which is really nice because you're starting from scratch, and I just like it better. Otherwise, you're just like looking at notes, and somebody else already did the work. And what else in the afternoons? Oh, they started doing these ICU rounds at 3:15, where they would like, we'd go to the ICU and they would just like lecture us on a topic, and the Palm attending was usually there, Palm fellow, and like other ICU people. And then that was kind of it that we did in the afternoons, just new admits, maybe more lectures in the ICU, and finishing up notes, and just like learning from the residents if they're like, oh, let's talk about this topic. And then sometimes the attendings would pull me back to their office and give me feedback, which was really nice. So that is a typical day in internal medicine rotation from start to finish. Okay, so next let's talk about things that I saw. Honestly, I'll just cover a few that I saw over and over. Obviously, like there's technically like a million things on the patient's problem list, but the things that I saw a lot were congestive heart failure, AFib, which was really interesting. I got to see a cardioversion, like got to follow my patient and see that procedure. So many DVTs and PEs, so many. I was kind of shocked about how many. A lot of alcohol withdrawal, and the other thing was, cirrhosis and ascites, and then one of the patients with cirrhosis, ascites, had ended up having esophageal varices and like bled, and it was all like dramatic one morning that we went there. And I got to help drain his ascites one day. So those are like the top 3 to 4 things I saw on my internal med rotation. Obviously, like internal med is literally like everything, so you can see so many things. But those were the top few. And then for oral presentations, I'm going in a weird order, but it's fine. So I'll like put on the side like kind of how this is, because I know that you definitely cannot see this, but I would always have a sheet of paper in half like this so that I could put multiple patients. So I could like technically put 4 patients, like 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna try out, I printed this like thing where I have like, because one of the things is like you follow them day to day, so I don't want to like have to rewrite all of this stuff. So instead of using just half, I think maybe I'll like have my assessment and plan on this side, and then that way I can keep like updating the labs day to day and have more room. I don't know. I also like did like this option where maybe it would be better because it's like more blank, and I just keep updating like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and like update it from day to day. One of the attendings actually gave me advice to do that, so that's where that came from. But anyway, so for my oral presentations, you always start with the one-liner, and you're like, so-and-so is a 56-year-old male with a history of, and then you do just the relevant past medical history, not all of their past medical history, who presents today with a large DVT, I don't know, pulmonary embolism, I don't know. And then subjective, so that's like overnight events. Like that's when you're like going into the room talking to the patient, how's it going? And like, okay, so he says no nausea, vomiting today, no more chest pain, or like he woke up in the middle of the night with 10 out of 10 chest pain and said like blah blah blah, and like they gave him nitro and it helped the pain. And then you go to objective and you're like, so objectively vitals, oh, I didn't put vitals in my little thing. Vitals are stable, or for vitals he's tachycardic, all the rest are stable. And then you do physical exam, like pertinent. So the thing that I got feedback on too was like mention pertinent positives, but also pertinent negatives. So like no more swelling in his legs if he's had swelling for the last 5 days or something. Irregular heartbeat, 2+ pitting edema in his legs. So you don't go through every single physical exam thing you did. You just do the pertinent positives and negatives. And then you go into imaging, like kidney ultrasound is pending, or like on his liver ultrasound, they found this. Or on his chest x-ray, they found a huge PE. And then you go into labs, again, pertinent positives or negatives. So like if the patient is there and you're like, oh my gosh, do they have an infection? You could, like something, a good pertinent negative would be white blood cell count is normal. Because that's like ruling out, like, well, potentially ruling out infection. Anyway, so you go through labs and then you go through an assessment plan. So then you're like, in summary, this is a da-da-da-da. Actually, I didn't do that for internal med because they didn't seem to like do that there, but like that totally depends on your rotation, whether you're like, again, like, oh, I did that in peds. So I was like, in summary, this is a blah, 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 da, 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 da. And then you're like, for assessment and plan, his first problem is, and then you go through the problem list in order of importance. So like if somebody's there for a PE, the first thing you mention is, first problem is the PE. What we're doing for this is blah, 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 blah. And then I think we should start also some anticoagulants, blah, blah, blah. That's like really random example. But anyway, that's kind of how you do the oral presentation. And I really like the sheet thing because I actually randomly found that I did not know I had the internal medicine version of this. But the reason I don't carry these around, let's see if they fit in this pocket. I don't think they do. Yeah, see? Like, I'm not about to, yeah, no. And these are like decently sized pockets. So that's the reason I don't bring these, even though it would be really helpful because it has like the labs and other labs and imaging and it's in like a really good order, but it doesn't fit in my pocket and I don't want to hold it the whole time. One thing you could do is get this and rip out the pages and then put it in something like this that our med school gave us. Oh, see, that's actually what I did. Oh, God. Oh, it's empty. It's fine. So you could rip it out and put it in this because this does fit in scrub pants easily, like not terribly, you know, easy. Woo, can't even tell it's there in my black scrubs. So that's another option if you want to have like a really solid printout and just like rip these out. And you have something nice to write on and you have a lot of like reference things right here. So that's that I wanted to show you guys about oral presentations. It's like really huge in internal medicine and really fun to like really work on that skill because the attendings gave me really good feedback. All right, next, you know I can't do this video without talking about what to wear. So I've determined that I'm only gonna buy black scrubs. You can, for us, like they've never told us there's a certain color we need to get. We got to pick and I was like, okay, black only so I never have to spend extra time contemplating what color I wanna wear. My favorite have been Dolan. I went through like 4 different brands because I have never worn scrubs and I wanted to find like exactly what I like. So what I've learned is that I like to have this pocket here because I always tuck in my scrubs. So the 2 pockets here like aren't useful for me because I don't like to not tuck in my scrubs. I guess also we're doing essentials in general because I have these like multicolored pens I got from Amazon. And so I like to be able to put my pen there. Or I also like wear my CU like pullover over this and then I'll put on the pullover, I'll like put it right there. So then my favorite joggers from Dolan. Okay, the side pockets are what I use and love the most. So these have both side pockets on both sides. That's why I love these joggers because like, yeah, there's pockets on the back, pockets on the side, like pockets everywhere, which is nice. But the ones I use the most are the side pockets, as you know, things like this. And if I usually, because I didn't use this that often, usually it's this, and that's where I put this. Or you can put it in your back pocket, which a lot of people do. But yeah, I love the side pockets. And then every single day you are on your feet a ton. So Comrade hooked me up with a lot of socks. I wore Comrade socks every single day. Look how cute these are. Look how cute. So even though I'm wearing black, like my ankle shows a little color, you know, because these like pop out. And then I also recently, they sent me these. Oh my God. Comrade compression socks, yeah. Highly, oh my God, they're so cute. Okay, I'm so dramatic, sorry. And then my Clove shoes, very cute. I tried Hoka's. I will say like, I want something a little squishier at the bottom, but I tried 3 different pairs of Hoka's and I hated them all. So far, Cloves are my favorite shoes, but I'm still searching for like the perfect shoe, I would say. But I also have no complaints. Like my feet didn't hurt, whatever. I think I just want to get like a little insole that's like squishier because these are like kind of they're not hard, but they're not as bad as Hoka's. I hated Hoka's. But anyway, I do really, really like the glove shoes. And it's nice that you can wipe it off. So those are all the essentials, and then what I wore, and also like stethoscope. You gotta have your stethoscope, and that's about it. So yeah, had to throw that section in there and show you all my favorite essentials for this rotation too. All right, so next let's talk about resources, and I don't have like a long list. I think it's honestly the best to keep it simple so you're not overwhelmed with resources. But 4 things to mention. So 1, my attending recommended the Hospitalist Handbook, and this is really great because you're able to like look for like cardiology. You can go to acute coronary syndromes, and then there's a flow sheet of patient presents with this, and then you do an EKG, aspirin, beta blocker, blah, and then blah blah. So like it's really good as far as like helping you with your assessment and plans for your patients when you're doing your oral presentations and trying to impress the attendings of like actually doing clinical reasoning of what you want to do with your patient. So that is a really great app to have. Next, for my shelf, I plan to do UWorld. For all of my shelves, I'm just going to do UWorld. Haven't started studying for it because I don't have it until it's like not even my second one. It's like past February, so I don't even know when because it's that far out. But I plan to use UWorld. Amboss is fabulous. Their charts are so good. So if you just look up AFib or congestive heart failure, you can see diagnosis, treatment, like blah, blah, blah. And it's just good to have everything you want to know about a condition in one place. Like, what are the different treatment options? Like, what about if they have like bad kidneys? What is the treatment you use then? And like learning about the different like anticoagulants if a person has like a PE or something. So Amboss is amazing resources. And I'm pretty sure just to use that, like if you don't want the full question bank, it's like $10 a month, $9.99 a month. So Amboss is great. And then lastly, podcasts. So I don't have a specific podcast recommendation. Honestly, what I would suggest just doing is if I love podcasts because I have a longer commute, and let's say, so I had a patient that had congestive heart failure and AFib. So I just went to the podcast app and searched that, and then I was able to find like a specific episode on that exact thing that I wanted to learn more about. So I found a lot of really great AFib podcast episodes, and it was like different, like it wasn't always the same podcast. So I remember like Cardio Nerds being one that was good, but I think it's so overwhelming. Like internal med is everything. So like, yeah, there's an internal med podcast called something that I'm blanking on, but like you would have to like go through the episodes and like search for one specific to your patient, or just like listen to all of them even if you don't have a patient. Yeah, so just go to your podcast app and search the specific thing you want to learn more about. And that's even great with drugs. Like I'm on psych right now, so like I can go and just search lamotrigine and like listen to a podcast episode on lamotrigine versus trying to find a podcast. Yeah, it's just way better to search specifics like that. Those are the things that I recommend for resources. I'll probably have more once I actually finish the full 6 weeks. All right, and lastly, I will say that my overall experience of internal med was fabulous. I know it's like a pretty intense schedule, but my team was amazing. If you have the option to rotate out of VA, I highly recommend, at least at my VA, people or like doctors, the attendings are so nice. They love to teach. They're always like, this one attending was like, always had 2 studies to pull out, like printed out to like teach us about a study related to one of the patients that we just came out of, like constantly teaching. The 2 attendings I work with both pulled me back to their office to give me feedback 2 times. Once in the beginning and once before they were off the service, just to like give me expectations and like how I'm doing, and like they were so nice. And like med students are always worried about being pimped. I promise it's not. If you have a good team who just wants to teach, I have heard horror stories from my classmates, but my experience, pimping is really not that bad. Like they're really just like trying to help you learn, and it's fun when you get it right. It's really fun, especially. And like one day you'll have a day where you get it all right and you're like, wow, like Maggie, you're doing great, by the way. Like I haven't even had to go up to the effort. And then one day they'll ask you a question and you think it's a drug for like prostate, and it's actually a diabetes drug, and you feel like a dummy for 2 seconds, but then you're like, ah, it's fine. These people are really nice. Fabulous experience. I had a great time. I have 4 more weeks, and overall, am I interested in becoming an internal med doctor? Absolutely not. I already knew that because my preceptor first year was a hospitalist, and I was like, no, not for me. But once you like start following patients and you like really want to like get them better, and like you become part of their care, and you're excited to see them each day, to like see them progress, then you get a little more into it and excited. And then like when you have a team that is like all about learning, you get like really excited to like look up things. I ended my second week, my last day, with finding my own study. I was like, I'm gonna jump on the bandwagon and like present a study like these guys, like the attending. And I did. So anyway, I'm not interested in it whatsoever, but I still had a good time. The only thing I'm like, that 4 weeks that I have left, I'm just like, oh God, that's gonna be a rough 4 weeks, because it's gonna be also 2 weeks of surgery before that, so it's gonna be a really rough 6 weeks, like schedule-wise. But it's great, great vibes, great people, and that's all I have for you. I hope this was helpful. Sorry I couldn't do a fun little vlog, but hopefully I'll be able to get a vlog on my psychiatry rotation. Maybe, we'll see. That's what I'm currently on. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow along on Instagram, and I cannot wait to see you in the next video.